Senior Living Today, brought to you by these fine sponsors: Wires Inc. and First Class Realty Triangle East.
Welcome to Senior Living Today. We had a great program last week, and we have even a better program this week. You called in, but before we get started, we're going to tell you about last week, how we had some calls. But Cheryl, who are our sponsors?
This evening, we're very fortunate we have Wires Inc. here in Rocky Mount as one of our sponsors. And of course, I know you've seen their store out on the highway there. And if you need your $82,000 truck or your $820 truck with a new bed liner, that's where you go to get your bed liner.
Outstanding.
Brian West and the staff out there are great customer service people, good people to work with. And we also have Brett Hill.
Brett Hill.
With his real estate firm.
Yep.
And Brett has a new staff coming in. Several people coming on board now. He's really expanded, doing great. First Realty Triangle East is the name of his operation. Also, I've known Brett for quite a few years, and he's a good guy to work with. Very, very knowledgeable people in their field. So.
And you want to give both of them a call, just to touch base with them. They believe in our senior market, where we're working, the counties that we reach. Last week, if you recall, we had Caroline Crawford from the law firm of, Cheryl, who was that law firm?
Pierce Law Group.
Pierce Law Group, answering questions on trust, wills, final expenses. And we ask you to call in. And boy, did you call in. Oh my gracious. Over 65 calls came in, and 21 of them came in for the guests we have tonight. You had some great questions. And I'm not even going to drag it out any further. Cheryl, who's with us tonight?
We are very fortunate this evening. We have Erica Edmondson with us. She is representing Home Health Care of Wilson. There we go.
The Wilson. Yes, sir.
And what we're going to talk about this evening is just, using home health care and what it really means, how you get it, how you pay for it, what it can do for you. And this is something that, I've dealt with in my family. And the things that Erica's going to talk about this evening, I wish I had known 10 years ago. So this is going to be a great program of information for you this evening. But Erica, give us a little bit of your background.
My name is Erica Edmondson. I am the account executive for Home Health of Wilson. Currently, I am here in Rocky Mount, great old Rocky Mount, but Wilson, Home Health of Wilson covers all the surrounding counties, and I am from one of those surrounding counties, Halifax County. Grew up in Roanoke Rapids, went to Halifax Academy all my life, and then I am an ECU pirate. Recently graduated, that's right. Recently graduated with my Master of Healthcare Administration, so healthcare is now the realm I live in, and helping seniors who can, navigate the realm they're in, and the families that are helping those seniors is really the goal.
Right. So, what is home health and the difference to home care?
Right. So we find a lot of times people don't know the difference in home health and home care. In our world, home health is a skilled service. So that is a skilled nurse, RN, LPN, home health aide, and physical, speech, and occupational therapy. Sometimes a patient may just need someone to cook, clean, sit with them. That is home care. That is personal care services. And that is not normally covered by your insurances. That's normally a private pay, out-of-pocket deal. When you have a skilled need, such as a diabetic foot wound or a fall and you had a hip replacement and you live alone, home health can come in and be, usually it's 2 to 3 times a week, be that clinical set of eyes on you for the time that they're there, which is normally 45 minutes to about 2 hours. They don't stay and just sit, they come in and do the clinical needs, and then they go. But you may have multiple disciplines in. You may have nursing in for wound care. You may also have physical therapy in for rehabilitating that knee or that hip. And you may have occupational therapy in for those activities of daily living, such as transitioning to the bed. and things like that. So you can get multiple disciplines and stack those to where you're being seen every day
Okay.
in the home.
Right, right. And so how does a person get qualified?
So a referral would come from your physician. Now granted, you could call us directly and say, what do I need to do? But the referral has to stem from your primary care doctor. It is
Okay.
super important to have a primary care doctor for all ages. Because as adults, you don't know, when things happen, they're normally bad things. And they're normally quick, urgent things. And you don't want to
Very
end
true.
up in an emergency room because you don't have someone to call. So having a primary
Okay.
care doctor is that liaison for you, and they would facilitate all referrals. So they would basically send us your last office note, your demographics, so that's your insurance, your name, emergency contacts. And it's really not a lot of paperwork, but just to prove the need that you need us. Normally a current med list helps. And
Right.
once we get that information and that home health order, which is them saying, this person needs home health evaluation for physical therapy and needs med management with nursing. It can be very broad like that for most cases. And that's all we need to legally go in and see the patient.
So if, my dad lives at home by himself, he's 90 years old. So if he falls walking out of the house, and we call the EMTs come and get him, take him to the emergency room, and they're, taking care of him there, what would be the process if they say, well, he's broken his hip and it's going to be a while to...
So when it goes through the hospital, that happens just as frequently. Most of the referrals for us come from a hospital discharge or a physician. So that if they're in the hospital, that case manager or discharge planner should initiate, hey, you can't go home in this state by yourself.
Okay.
You're going to need more help than your family can provide. So they should initiate, and it's always okay to ask, what kind of services can I get? Because they have lists.
Okay.
So if you don't qualify for home health, maybe you qualify for some personal care aid services at a discount. Sometimes there are rates that apply depending on what needs you have and insurances you have. But they would initiate it, and then they would handle all the paperwork. They would say, call me and say, hey, Erica, I've got a referral, needs PT, OT from a hip fracture, and he's looking to go home on the 16th.
Okay.
And we would get all the information from them, and that way the family's out of it. It's just they know we do what's called a welcome call. So once we receive that referral and it's in our system, we call that patient the day before and say, are you okay for us to come Tuesday around lunchtime, or do you have a better time?
Okay.
And that's when we get to know the patient and when we get to know the family who's going to be there. Because the true start of care visit can take up to 2 hours, just getting all the information.
Cheryl, can I add something? Just one quick question. My father, just like Cheryl's, we both have age, just like a lot of our seniors out here in the viewing area. Do you coordinate with veterans assistants, people that come in?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So we have programs for veterans assistance.
Okay.
So we work with all the local VAs. So the most local one would be Greenville, but there's the Durham, all the others. And they operate the same. They know the same paperwork's required from them. So it is something that we, and I know my sister hospice branch, they had quite a few veterans on recently. We try to do something special Veterans Day, and they presented pins, like actually a pinning ceremony for those who could attend. So that is actually one of the more recent. We've always been able to take the veterans insurance and see patients with that insurance, because sometimes there are exclusions. But recently there's a program actually to showcase them more. So that's funny you asked that, because we don't know all the details yet, but that's coming.
Okay.
Good deal.
So that's a new program that's coming in for you. Okay. All right.
But as it stands, we can accept patients, and they would just operate the same way any other facility referring to us would.
That's
Okay.
great news.
And what counties specifically do y'all kind of concentrate in around here?
So our home branch is Wilson, North Carolina. We are in a joint partnership with Wilson Medical, so we're pretty close to their
Okay.
campus. And then we also cover all the surrounding counties. So that's Nash, obviously.
Certainly.
Johnston, Pitt, Wayne, Greene, and Edgecombe.
Edgecombe. But your office does not cover Halifax, or?
It does not.
Okay.
Actually, personally, I wish we did, because
Sure.
I would have preferred us to have helped in some situations, but no, we do it, it's a 45-mile radius.
Okay.
Some cases we can go a little further, but normally we have nurses so busy that they have to stay within 45 miles of the office.
Joey and I have a lot of clients in Halifax County, so who actually handles Halifax?
I don't, I know the one that my grandparents used was Kindred. But it honestly is only 1 or 2 in that area, whereas in Wilson, in these areas, it's 5 or 6. It's only 1 or 2 in Halifax.
Right.
So there is a great need there, and I have pushed for us to expand, but
Right.
it takes a workforce too.
Right.
Sure it does.
So that's definitely
To
a county
get
that's
there.
in need.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Shirley, you're speaking about counties. Erica, you're speaking about counties. WHIG, as we all know here, are 17 counties. So I see where you want to go outside of that 45. So I'm sure there's some listening people out here now that would like to have your expertise, maybe not having access to it.
Right.
Do they just contact you?
Yes, because we, our parent company, LHC Group, is a nationwide company with over 800 locations. So they let us operate locally as small town home health of Wilson, as we prefer, but we have their national backing on things.
That's good
So we
resources.
have an office in Henderson, we have an office in Fayetteville, we have one in Raleigh, and all the way east across the
That's great
country.
news.
So we can always find a branch that can help you if we're not the one that can.
Okay.
And I can help facilitate that through my number as well.
Good.
You and I were talking earlier, and you mentioned a program that y'all do for caregivers, kind of educating them on diabetic, chronic disease management or something.
So we, for home health, as long as there's a chronic disease or some kind of disease management, so you've got diabetes, COPD, CHF, all of those are qualifying admitting diagnoses for home health, because Medicare puts a big push on prevention. So if you can get us in there while you're sort of doing it, you're sort of taking your meds right and you're okay, but if we can make it better, they're all for approving that request and getting us in there to med management. So a good half of our patients are probably have some kind of med management system in where we do their meds every month or every week. And that's the only thing we do, but that is a skilled service. And
So what actually are you doing?
so we are doing their pill pours. So if there's someone that lives alone, they can't, you go in there and they've got a bag of medicines.
Right.
Most older Americans have more than 10 medicines in their
do.
cabinet, and they're
They
not
so
all
do.
over the counter. They're old prescriptions. We go in there and start from scratch. All of our admissions get a journal where we log all their current meds, and they get a bag to keep their meds in, and they're instructed to take that bag and that journal to every visit to their doctor.
Oh.
So that things stay the same, because side effects can affect in different
Yes.
ways. And
Yes.
so the same way with the diabetes, we manage insulin. We also do nutrition counseling, because diabetes can spiral if nutrition's not watched. So we can do all those kind of watch management type things where we go in once or twice a week to keep people out of the hospital.
Erica, I know, Cheryl, our listening audience has learned something here. And I don't know why a 30-minute program just flies by. We're already halfway through. But folks, sitting at home on your couch before we go to break, we need you to think about, and I'm going to ask Erica to give you her telephone number. If there are questions you have for your parents, for yourself, we want you to reach out to Erica and the home health. Erica, what's that telephone number before we go to break?
It's 252-290-8303. That's my direct number. And if I don't have the answer to your question, I know who will.
Outstanding. We're going to be right back after a short break. We thank you. Stay tuned. Looking forward to telling you a little bit more. We'll be right back.
Senior Living Today, brought to you by these fine sponsors: Wires Inc. and First Class Realty Triangle East.
Hi, Cheryl Braswell with Statewide Insurers Group. Are you turning 65 and do you have questions about your Medicare options? Let Statewide Insurers Group help you choose the insurance plan that best suits your needs now. We at Statewide Insurers Group are all things Medicare. We're here and can help you through this challenging time, by phone, by email, or if you prefer, come by the office. We're following all protocols during this difficult time. Folks, relationships matter. You and your family have important questions. We have the correct answers. You do not want to put this off. Act today. Give us a call at Statewide Insurers Group. Our number is 252-316-8166.
Welcome back to Senior Living Today. That is a quick break, and we're right back here with you. Glad to have you on board. And again, we ask, give us a call. The questions you have are the most important. We're going to jump right back into it with Erica talking about home health, our co-host Cheryl Braswell. Cheryl, what's the next question that we had asked?
A couple of things that I had written down. This always comes up in the conversation. Who pays for this, Erica? How can this be paid for?
Yep, that's a great question. So if you have Medicare, Medicare covers home health services at 100%. That doctor's order signifies that you need it, and Medicare says, he says you need it, we're going to pay for it. Most other insurances do have a home health carve out where there's little to no copay. I would suggest, now home health all insurances will allow for home health. What you don't know up front is the bill you may get later. Medicare will have no bill. You may have like a 20% type thing. It just depends on the different insurance. Like I said, Medicare covers it, and all the other ones will, but you have to check your policy individually to see what kind of home health portion you may be responsible for.
Right.
And it may be zero sometimes.
Right.
Erica, adding to that, and not to interrupt here because you've got a great flow going, but you said 20%. Could that be, for our viewing audience, Cheryl, a supplement that could be added with Medicare to assist that?
Okay, that was what I was going to ask. So, say my dad falls down, breaks his leg, and Mr. Bradley's going to qualify for some home care for the next 5-6 weeks. His regular Medicare will pay for this? Okay.
There's no Medicare is the only one. There's no questions.
Okay.
As long as you qualified for that home health, you qualify for them to pay for the duration of your home health needs.
Okay.
So that's the easiest one to say yes, because all the other ones are a yes, but sometimes you may have a bill come later. And it may not be much of anything, it may be nothing, but I've had a patient call angry at us because they got a $7,000 bill, but their insurance, they thought they had home health coverage and they didn't.
Right.
So that's where they would have needed a supplement to cover that gap.
And, that's where we as Statewide Insurers Group can provide a lot of help, because there are policies out there that will pay for home care without.
That was the reason I kind of asked that 20% question for you and Erica.
There are things out there that will take care of that.
Yeah.
And so, again, you can give us a call on those questions, and we can help you out with that. You also talked about recently y'all have started a dementia care program?
Yes, so we are an agency that can accept COVID positive patients. So that kind of stemmed nationwide. There was a need because patients are not wanting to go into skilled nursing facilities and assisted livings because they're essentially being shut out from their families. So if you go into one, your family most of the time cannot visit. Very few are allowing visitors, at least. The skilled ones are pretty much not at all.
Erica, can you repeat that for our viewing audience, that is critical. That was one of the
Yes.
calls we had. Can they go in? And you just touched on it.
So
Please.
around here, at least, all the SNFs, which is a skilled nursing facility, they're shut down. No visitors, unless it's a compassion type visit, which is end of life. Assisted living, some of them are allowing visitors, but it just depends on the organization. So the need for home health has risen because
Right.
they're choosing, well, I need something. I know I need more care probably, but can we bridge this gap until? So my company came out with a dementia program to kind of fine tune how to manage and help those families with dementia patients in their homes. Because they're a very different type of patient. They're not
Yes.
hurting or have an ill or a wound or something. They're themselves, but they're not. So they need a different kind of coaching, and we actually have a 3-step process that will show you their cognition level and how to treat that patient and train those families how to respond to certain actions. And I know we've talked about bringing up when they were 18, what did they do? And that can snap them right back out of a fit. So there's
Yeah.
certain things that these clinicians are trained to do and trained to talk about. And memory books, we do personalized memory books. So it's triggering those old thoughts and emotions so that they are not frustrated.
Right.
So that's really been a big program, and we can admit just for that dementia program, or we can add on that service to someone who's getting already services with
Right.
us.
That is tremendous. If you've ever had to deal with that, that is a tough.
And that goes for Alzheimer's
situ-
too. They
yeah.
kind of fall into the same category.
So you're also able to work with Alzheimer's patients in that?
As long as it's not a behavioral to where we can't handle them, but
Right.
at that point, they really should be in a facility,
Right.
and I don't mean mental facility, I mean a nursing facility
Right.
anyway, because they're just almost a danger to themselves if they're so far gone and they're mobile.
Understood.
You also talked about Breathe Easy program. Is that tied in with the COVID
Yes, so that is
situation?
part of the COVID.
Okay.
It's a respiratory program that comes with a little kazoo-looking device. That's the best way I can describe it. And it is strengthening those respiratory muscles on inhalation and exhalation. So not just one way. So what that means is when you get bronchitis, or if you have COPD or pneumonia, you can fight that virus better because your respiratory muscles are muscles. And if you don't strengthen those, they atrophy and they can't fight off those illnesses as well. So any reason to keep your respiratory muscles better than COVID, I don't think I've ever seen. So that program was developed with not only for COVID, because we have a ton of COPD and respiratory illnesses in this area, but COVID is a prime indicator of why you would need those muscles strengthened.
Yes. That's amazing. That is very interesting when you mentioned the kazoo for the breathing exercises. I had a friend who had some tremendous respiratory problems, 10 or 15 years ago, and that was something literally they gave him to
The kazoo.
to play with.
Yep, and they're trying to jumble up what's in here so that
Right.
it doesn't stick
Right, yeah.
and get infected.
Interesting. You also mentioned at one point a fall prevention program?
So we have a ton of
Yeah.
pretty much every disease process we can manage. And the fall prevention, we do a fall risk assessment for every admission, whether it's a nursing admission or a therapy or both. And some people don't need it, but some people we uncover, they've got 16 rugs lining from their bedroom to their kitchen that they could trip over every day. Or how are they safely getting on the toilet? Do they need a bar? Do they need a shower chair? Things like that they may not have ever known that would have made their lives so much easier, but it's preventing, once again, prevention, it's preventing that fall so that you don't end up with a broken leg in the ER.
And Cheryl, you never realize a lot of this. Maybe our viewing audience does. But Erica, you've touched on so many topics. Can you actually build a program like Cheryl is asking to fit the particular need of the viewing audience, of the client, of the male, of the female?
Right, so if someone's like, mom's at home and I'm scared because I work all day long, a fall risk assessment is a good way to get clinical eyes in there. The same way our continence control program. Most older adults over 80 are incontinent, and so in some form or fashion. So that's a way to get us in there, let us do an assessment, and then we can admit them if they have CHF, diabetes, COPD to monitor.
Wow.
And then you're not admitting them because they fell and broke their shoulder. You're admitting them because they need 4 visits a month to make sure they're taking their meds,
Right.
to make sure they're taking their insulin, to make sure because we have a 24/7 nurse line too. So when you're on our service, you get that nurse line, you get us, and you get, if you want it, like a little life alert button that comes with our service. It's called the Personal Emergency Response System, and it's a necklace, and it's the button. So they're never truly alone when they've got that and the 24-hour nurse line. So it's just, I think people don't utilize it as much as they should as for
Right.
prevention. It's always an afterthought.
So, okay, let me make sure I heard you right on that. If they're admitted for, whatever the situation is, when are they eligible for having the button?
The whole time they're on our service, they can have that free of charge. It works
Wow.
off of cell towers, not a
Right,
landline.
right.
And it is, I think, $30 if you continue after we discharge the patient. So you can keep
Wow.
it forever. It's like $29.99 a month.
And that's something that
That's
I'm sure
tremendous.
would be, as Cheryl said, a lifeline.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know why 30 minutes goes so quick.
Yes.
I know that you have learned an awful lot. I know I have, sitting here listening to Erica, listening to the great questions Cheryl has come up with. We encourage you, and Erica, I'm going to prepare you. I'm going to give you that telephone number one more time. But as you look at senior living today, let that relate to your living at home. The questions you call in to us at Statewide are questions that are pertinent to someone in this 17-county area. Erica, please, if you will, give us a little close of how they get in touch with you and any question they may have, how they can reach you.
Yes, sir. So if you have any questions or just want to kind of spitball about ideas or next steps, my number is 252-290-8303. That's also a 24/7 number, so if you need me, that is my number. And like I said, we've got a ton of programs that can fit the needs of all types of patients and people in your lives. So.
Great.
For Erica, myself, and Mr. Braswell, Cheryl, we want to thank you for tuning in to Senior Living Today. The next program we have will be coming in 2 weeks. You want to tune in for it. It's just as exciting as this one's been today. We thank you. We bless you. We look forward to hearing from you. Have a great evening. Thank you again for tuning in to Senior Living Today.
Senior Living Today, brought to you by these fine sponsors: Wires Inc. and First Class Realty Triangle East.